Somebody hollered at me and they said, "Yo, what's your practice?" Because we be doing qigong, we be standing with our hands up like cactus. So they said, "What's your practice?" Right? What are the tactics that I can have to develop this practice? And I said, we all have a practice, right? Every one of us, each one of us, we practice. But the only difference is, what is your practice, right? Today, after we did qigong, I did my usual, cleaned up the kitchen, washed the dishes, and my Aunt Renee came in. I've been visiting my family out here in Riverside, California. And my Aunt Renee came in and she was like, "Boy, you washing the dishes again. You don't even eat and you washing the dishes. Look at you cleaning out here." I said, "It's my pleasure, Aunt Renee. Somebody got to do it, right? Somebody got to do it. So I might as well get to it because somebody got to do it." So that's one of my practices, being in service, being on purpose, realizing I'm worth it. But as I was washing the dishes, she said, "Boy, you don't even eat. Why are you washing the dishes?" And then she said, I got to eat something right now. She put some sausage links on the stove. She started cooking it up. She said, "Man, I got to eat again. I already had breakfast and I got to eat again. I don't know how you do it." I said, "What?" She looked at me. She said, "I don't know how you do it." I said, how do I do what?" She said, "You know what I mean." I said, "Oh, okay, I know what you mean." And I said, "Well, it took practice, right?" She said, "I'm sure it did." But then I had to think to myself and I said, well, back when I was eating everything in abundance, that took practice too. I had to think about what I went through, right? Like they say, you have to go through it to get to it. Sometimes we grow through what we go through. So back when I was eating everything in abundance, 3 meals a day plus snacks in between, you know what I mean? That took practice. I didn't get there overnight. It was over many nights that I got to the point where my stomach was so distended, there was no ending, right? I had a hard time stretching. I had a hard time bending. But that was a practice. I had developed into that practice. You see a sumo wrestler, how did they get there? Well, they had to practice. Did they not? You see a boxer, you see an actor, you see anybody who has a famous profession, anybody who sees their own progression, that took practice. So let's not say that you are not disciplined just because you don't have someone else's practice. You are disciplined at your own practice. You feeling my drift? You catching the drift? So when I caught the drift, I felt the energy shift because I realized we all have a practice, but it all comes down to what you do and the practice that you have found that has suited you, right? So right now, I'm on my way to go to Barnes & Noble's today and finish this book. But reading, this was a practice, right? Just like when I was spending hours and hours a day sitting on that couch in front of that television, like what did Ralph Smart say? Television, telling lies to us visually, right? Telling you a vision of your life, giving yourself your imagination, feeling that sensation with a lowered vibration when I was just sitting in front of that screen, inserting myself into that virtual reality. That was a practice. I was disciplined. Every day I would sit on that couch and play those video games. That took discipline, right? You might say it took a certain amount of motivation, but isn't that the sort of information that you would give yourself for the things that you do for your own health, right? What are the things that you do without anyone else? What are the things that you do without any influence? What is your practice? The things that you would say you are disciplined at. What is the energy you put out to see what comes back? What is the feeling of abundance and the feeling of lack? And what do you picture when you imagine all that, right? For you, yourself, in your practice, what would you take the time to grow? And if you make the time and create the time, what will you eventually start to know about your own practice, your own discipline in life? Letting go of any stress or any leftover strife, right? What is something you wouldn't even think twice that you could say, I could do this for the rest of my life? That you could say, this energy, this would suffice. What is something like that for you that could impact all that you do? When someone comes around and says, oh man, you're so disciplined. But aren't we all? I mean, there are times that we fall. There are times we stand tall. But when it comes to that word discipline, aren't we all? Right now, I'm sending you a message, right? You know what I mean, right here on the screen, right? My name is Jerome. I'm coming right through the phone, letting you know you can try this at home, right? And I'm coming with rhymes just straight off the dome. People ask me, yo, Jerome, how do you do that? Well, I did it over and over again. I decided I would become my own friend. And I realized there's no limit, so there's never an end. But it's all what you do, creating your trend. What is the trend you would like to create so you can see your own light and realize you're great? And drop a heart if you hear me and you too can relate. Because we all participate in our own practice. There doesn't have to be a secret technique or tactic, but just embracing yourself and what you do. So much love. Thank you so much for being you.